Hey folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Today we're going to show you a little video from actually a couple years ago that I released on another platform. We're moving it over here to YouTube, but there's good information in here. In the video you're going to hear me mention that we are not going to do any canning. That year that I filmed that video, we actually are going to do some canning this year. So if you are interested in topics such as canning and dehydrating, you're going to want to subscribe because we have a lot of that stuff coming later this year. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to smash that like button. It's like putting tips in my tip jar. Good morning, gardeners. Today we're going to talk a little bit about dehydration. So here we have a harvest that I took on Saturday of May 20th, I think. At this point, if you're in the south, you're probably starting to pull stuff from the garden already, at least herbs. In the north, you might be pulling some stuff too. It looks like we're getting close to starting to have some production on zucchini and cucumbers. Just flowering at this point, not a whole lot of development, but that's good news. So if you're getting serious about gardening, at some point you're going to have more than you can use. And you're going to want to either trade it, maybe sell it at the local farmer's market, or store it. So when you store it, there's a couple different ways you can do that. You can freeze your surplus. You can can it, which I'm probably not going to do any canning videos this year. Or you can do a dehydration for a lot of stuff that you pull out of the garden. So herbs especially do really well with dehydration, but you can freeze them too. So what you're going to do is, after you pull your harvest, you're going to lightly wash them in cool water. Just get any debris, if there's been any insects or birds around your plants. Just give them a light wash under the water, pat them dry. Okay, the next step is, there's a lot of different ways you can dehydrate. You can do it, actually, a lot of times you can dehydrate just on paper plate or on paper towels in a warm, dry, sunny area. That's fine. I've done that plenty of times. You can dehydrate in the oven. Lots of people do that. But if you start doing a lot of it, you might want to think about investing in a dehydrator. This is the one I use. I've been using it for a few years. I really like it. You can find it on Amazon, and it should be pretty easy to find if you look for a Nesco dehydrator. It might be a different version now because mine's a few years old. It'll come with an instruction booklet on how to dehydrate all kinds of different stuff. I do recommend that you buy some extra trays, which I'm going to show you right now. These are what the trays look like for this one. And I bought several extras because I do a lot of dehydrating when I start getting the garden going a lot. And also there's a couple extra things that you can get. This here is kind of a smaller screen, which you can put right on top of the tray, and that's really useful for dehydrating herbs, because what's going to happen is, as you're dehydrating them, it's warm air that's blowing around inside the machine, and it's going to kind of blow them around a little bit, and to some extent they're secure because of the way it's stacked, but as they dehydrate, they get smaller and smaller, and having the smaller screen should help it from passing through. This is what the bigger screen looks like. Okay, so they can, certain things like oregano and thyme especially can pass right through there. So when you're loading your herbs onto the tray, make sure you spread them out a little bit. You don't want them bunched up too much. It's just going to take them longer to dehydrate. This is some dill here, and see, that might be just a little bit bunched up too much there, so we'll kind of spread that out a little bit. You just want the air to be able to flow in between it. And what will happen is, as this is dehydrating, these are all going to shrink, and so you can start to combine trays and go. So I'm going to start with 4 trays here, run it for about 10 hours, and then check it at 10 hours, and they'll be significantly smaller and might be able to combine down to 2 trays. So that's it. Okay, and if you follow the directions on the dehydrator manual, check it at the time that it says, and after you've used the temperature that it says. You want it to be dry and almost brittle to the touch. If it still feels like there's moisture, and a lot of times that happens with mine, I keep going until it feels very, very dry. And you want to get all that moisture out of there because that's what's going to allow you to store it for a very long time. So the last step is, once you've done all your dehydrating and everything is nice and dry, get yourself some nice glass jars. You can use mason jars or ball jars, and make sure they're cleaned out really good and dried really good. You don't want any moisture in there at all. And you can start putting your herbs in there and label it however you want. You know, if you put basil in, put a little label on it so you know what it is, because some of the stuff, actually, if it's up in your cabinet and it's been dehydrated and it starts to break down a little bit and get kind of brittle, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between, say, I don't know, basil and mint if it's broken down a little bit. So just label it, put it, and then put it up in your cabinet in a cool, dry, dark place. It doesn't have to be, you know, refrigerated. Just the cabinet is fine, and it's good for years. Just, you know, when you take off the top of the jar, take out what you need, and then seal it right back up. And really, it's good for years. And you can give this as, you can give a jar of herbs to friends as Christmas gifts or birthday gifts, or just use it for a couple of years and then, you know, start to rotate it out after maybe 2 years. But really, longer than that. They'll last for several years before it's a problem. That's all there is to it. Really simple, really fun, and if you grow herbs in your garden, you will find that you can definitely grow enough of whatever it is that you like to use that you won't have to buy any hardly at all. All right, good luck out there, gardeners. Please leave any comments, questions, or debate in the section below.